Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the brand new third generation of the Volkswagen Tiguan. And while it's one of the newest, most luxurious and exciting compact crossovers that you can currently buy, it's not perfect, so today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the all-new Tiguan. We're also going to talk about what's exciting and coming next year in just a few months, and we're going to decide if it's worth your time and money. So today you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts. And huge thanks to Goody Motor Volkswagen in Twin Falls, Idaho for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'm going to link them below if you're interested because they sell below MSRP. They'll ship anywhere in the country. And with that said, let's dive right into this review. And thank you for watching car videos on YouTube today, but if you get anything out of this video, you enjoy the presentation style, or you like the all-new Tiguan, please be so kind to consider liking this video. Basically, that lets me know to make more stuff like this. It helps the video get shared, but it'll also help you by having the YouTube choose to show you more stuff just like this. Thank you so much. But if you're new to Volkswagen, or the Tiguan, there's a few interesting things that you should probably know. Volkswagen is a German automaker. They were founded right around the beginning of World War II in the year 1937, and Volkswagen literally translates to mean the people's car. And although they have sold a lot of people's cars, they are actually the second biggest automaker in the world. They do also sell a lot of more luxurious cars, like Audis, like Lamborghinis, like Bugatti. They've really absorbed a lot of luxurious and sports car brands. And so you can kind of expect a lot of the fancier, more performance-oriented DNA to trickle down to the regular people's car. And this Tiguan really doesn't disappoint. These are actually pretty popular. The model came out globally in 2007. It came to the North American market a few years later. The third generation just came out a few months ago, and already for 2026, Volkswagen has announced that the highest trim level of the Tiguan, the SEL-R, is going to receive basically 40 more horsepower, basically 70 more pound-feet of torque. They're basically giving it a detuned version of the Golf R's engine or the GLI, the GTI. So it might be worth waiting for the new generation, but if you are sold on this one, this specific example, it was assembled in Mexico before being shipped to the United States. A basic low trim level starts at about $30,000, but then you have to pay a little bit more for all the options. Even all-wheel drive is a $1,500 option. And the way that this one sits, this is a 2025 model year SEL-R with the 2-liter turbo engine. It does start at about $40,000 after destination, after delivery. After a few more goodies, it is about a $43,000 vehicle before the Goody Twin Falls Volkswagen discount. Before about $43,000, what do you get? You get a vehicle that, while it's not yet rated for crash tests, it is expected to be a 5-star crash test rated vehicle, and it does include a lot of safety features, especially at this $43,000 price tag. So you have a lot of parking sensors, a 360-degree camera, turn signals on the mirrors, blind spot monitoring on the mirrors, adaptive cruise, and lane keep assist, to name a few. And I do have to say that the adaptive cruise and the lane keep assist works about middle of the class for this vehicle. It's not as bad as the worst compact crossovers, but it's certainly not quite as good as some of the others, like Subaru and like some of the newer Hondas that do it just a little bit better. But beyond that, you get a lot of luxurious features. And honestly, for 43 grand, while that is pretty expensive for a compact crossover, this not only has a 2-liter turbo, a true 8-speed automatic, but you have heated, ventilated, massaging front seats. They're even powered on the passenger and the driver. You have heated outboard seats. You have a panoramic sunroof, a power liftgate. You have these 20-inch wheels that look really good, even though there is only a temporary spare in the back cargo area. But you have a lot of other nice features too that you're just gonna have to wait and see throughout this video as we go through this vehicle. Overall, this vehicle, like a lot of the other compact crossovers it competes against, it's easy to park, it's easy to drive, it actually fits really conveniently in the average size garage or parking space, but it's also a little bit heavier than some of the competition, making it easier to drive at highway and interstate speeds because it feels a little bit more solid and more stable. Overall, it is about 15 1/3 feet long. The wheelbase is actually really impressive at 9.16 feet, so that is up to about a half foot longer than some of the other compact crossovers wheelbase. And then it is about 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall, so it does have a nice stance to it. This does weigh up to 4,100 pounds though, and this one probably runs pretty close to that because it has all the options and it has the all-wheel drive system, the 4Motion system that is an option on the lower trim levels. So this being an all-wheel drive one, it can tow about 1,800 pounds, but if it was only front-wheel drive, it could only tow 1,500 pounds. Meanwhile, the payload capacity is 1,014, which is actually pretty impressive, and about 100 more than most of the Japanese compact crossovers that this competes against. Because it's all-wheel drive, again, it has more ground clearance, roughly 7 inches, even though that to the naked eye looks a little bit more than 7 inches. 6.6 inches is what you get if it's a front-wheel drive version, and then this thing has a 333 final axle ratio, and it can do a full circle in roughly 38 feet. The last couple things to mention here is the gas door is located on the passenger side, and thankfully when you lock the vehicle, the gas door locks, so you don't have to worry about the bums trying to siphon any of your 15.6 gallons of fuel. This specific example with the 20-inch wheels is rated for 22 city, 30 on the highway, so your max road trip and range could be as good as about 468 miles. And then you have one of the widest tires that I have ever seen on a unibody compact crossover. It's a 255 width, 40 sidewall, 20-inch wheel, temporary spare in the back, but this thing does have about 10-30 seconds of tread on the Scorpion tire, which is pretty good. And then this is your key. You have remote start even, panic button, lock, unlock with power liftgate, so you can basically do it all from here. Or you could just leave it in your pocket because you do have proximity key features right here to lock and unlock the vehicle. And when the vehicle is locked, which maybe I'll show you with the remote, the mirrors actually fold in, which is pretty nice. There we go. But before we hop into the interior, I have to say Volkswagen really knocked out of the park with the lines on this vehicle. It really looks good, especially in opal white pearl paint. Seriously looks fantastic. There is so much pearly metallic flake in the paint. It really shines well. And then best of all, no plastic cladding like a lot of the compact crossover competition to this. It is painted black. It even has a sensor on the side fender, something that I don't know that I've ever seen that before. And then it still has almost like a side skirt design, but it is tucked up so you don't lose any ground clearance or practicality having to step over that thing. Anyways, you probably want to see the interior if you're still watching. So let's hop into that, show you the door panel. It opens up fairly large. The window is not as big as the Subaru Forester that this competes against. It's probably about on par with my Toyota RAV4, maybe a little bit smaller, maybe closer to the Mazda size. But overall, for my driver position, visibility is easy because you can adjust the seat. So many different configurations. You have a little bit of piano black, some nicer materials that are likely going to age really well. Pretty soft door card, some good Hobby Lobby stitching, almost like a piano black reflective piece right there. And then you can use the power liftgate there. This doesn't say Harman Kardon on this door panel. You can see that on a few other places, including the sub in the back. But you have an okay size pocket right there. And then at 5'11", I can pretty easily drop down just a few inches to get onto that fancy heated ventilated massaging seat, which the massaging aspect of it is not a gimmick. It actually works really well. I love that this SEL-R has R on the door sill. I actually really like these all-weather mats. Of course, I wish factory mats went up a little bit higher on the carpet to protect more, but they look really nice. They're going to trap water in there really well, and it's not going to spread around. You have a hybridized rubber and aluminum pedal. You have the OBD2 port down there. Looks like you even have a knee airbag. And then you have this huge opening for kind of a smaller storage tray. You can turn your headlights on there. You have the turn signal wiper blade stock right there. Real wood vents, really cool display, heated leather wrapped steering wheel. No paddle shifters on the back, but it's actually pretty comfortable. And again, it has the R right there, which I can't wait till this actually has R levels of power next year. And then there's the memory seats. There's all the options to control them. You can actually hide some stuff down under in between the seat rails. The bolstering, it's not overly aggressive, but it does hold me in place fairly well. And there's a bunch of LED lighting surrounding the panoramic moonroof up top. And then sitting inside here is actually really nice and probably the nicest Volkswagen that I have ever been in. Everything is well designed. It's ergonomically pleasing. Even though you have huge digital displays, they actually work really good in this Volkswagen. I like it a lot. Visibility through the hood is really good because the hood slopes down so low. You can see one of the Harman Kardon advertised speakers right there. The wood trim, again, falls over to the passenger side. And when we fire this puppy up, I'm so used to the muscle memory of over here. The Volkswagen that's right there, the memory seat moved into the last set position. And here we have it. The heated steering wheel is turned on. We're going to turn that off. But you have voice and volume controls on the left. You have heated steering wheel and controls that go through the infotainment screen on the right. This is actually maybe the first vehicle that I've seen that has different heat settings for the actual steering wheel. That's really neat. You can also go through the ventilated seats right here, the heated seats right here, go through all the climate controls. I'm going to turn down the HVAC just a little bit. It does take a little bit of time to get used to, but it's like 90 degrees out. So that's where we're going to leave it right now. You can, of course, go through tons of options right here. The screen is actually responsive, which is really cool. Unfortunately, way too many controls are tied into it. Obviously the HVAC, but even like adjusting the heads-up display, you have to go through this. You don't just have like a dial or a knob or something on the side, unfortunately. And then when you do want to get into climate controls, you do got to get used to how all of those work out for you. Auto start stop is also up there. This one does have navigation as well, and traffic sign recognition, or GPS in this case, which is really cool. You have vents, you have the hazards, you have a couple cup holders, a place to store your Tootsie Rolls or your pencils. And then this is really interesting, right next to the start stop, and in between that and the parking sensor, you have a volume knob, but you also can change the volume right here, or you can change the volume on either one of these. Kind of interesting how many options you have, and I love that it's actually a little display, but then when you push on it, it comes up to your drive modes, and there's a whole bunch of them. For the 0 to 60 in a few minutes, we'll certainly be in sport mode, but kind of interesting how Volkswagen designed it. And then you have some USB Type-Cs right there. You have a lifty tray in the center, a 12 volt, and you have a wireless phone charger with this bracket that actually holds it into place. I have not tried it out. Usually those don't work very well in other cars, but honestly, with the compression that you have from the bracket, I wouldn't be surprised if this one actually works. And then up top, you have a power shade, which again is kind of the haptic touch buttons. You can just slide your finger across, and you can watch that puppy do its thing and block some more heat and some UV rays. But honestly, this glass does seem to be pretty darkly tinted, and I like it a lot. The front half should open, and then you have some LED lights kind of angled like what a Pilot would have. So whenever you're in here, it's almost like you're taking a flight, taking a nice plane ride. And then you have an LED light right there. So Volkswagen did not cheap out like some other automakers do when it comes to the vanity mirror. Pretty cool. But with that said, let's turn it off and we'll hop in the back. Actually, I think for safety concerns, we're gonna leave the vehicle running. We're gonna leave the AC on so that Goody Motor doesn't find me passed out in the back of their vehicle in some random canyon. Anyways, the door panel, it opens up really nice. The materials are good. It's kind of funny that the back seats actually are advertised Harman Kardon's, but the front seats are not. This could open a few more degrees to be a little bit more competitive with Subaru and with Mazda, but honestly, I think it opens bigger than my Toyota, but it does have nicer materials. So unlike my Toyota, where the doors don't open very far and the materials are cheap, so it doesn't really matter in the RAV4 if you kind of scuff up the door panel because it's built tough for that. This is a little bit nicer. Thankfully, the doors open wider, so you're less likely to scuff that up, but still, please be careful. And it's kind of a heavy door, so it's less likely to get grabbed by the wind and swing into the car next to you, but just for reference, I'll show you how far these doors open compared to a car next to you in a parking space. And then this is the 60-40 split. It's actually a pretty light seat for being fairly fancy and having the heated features. You can see, like a lot of other compact crossovers, there should be a little bit of room above the headrest. Really good floor room. It opens up pretty easily. Child safety seat tethers are everywhere that they should be. And then a 5'11" sitting behind myself in a driver position where this seat is actually further back than it would normally be if I wasn't filming. Actually, I have some pretty good knee room. Kind of the thinnest, smallest, shortest map pocket I've ever seen, but you do have good vents. You can change the temperature from back here, which most other compact crossovers you cannot. Probably a feature handed down from Audi or some higher trim levels or some other Volkswagen-owned companies. And then some more USBs. You also have an armrest, which actually feels stable. And kind of like the Hondas, you actually have the cup holders where they should be in the center of it. They're not turned sideways like on Subarus, which is inconvenient. And then sitting back here, even with the dual pane sunroof, I have huge amounts of headroom. I have a really nice light and a pretty decent sized handle, so I can grab that and hold on to when I need to pull myself in or out. But with that said, let's hop out and I'll show you the hatch and the cargo area. I actually think that the back of the Tiguan looks really good, especially in opal white pearl with all the black accents that the R line has to offer. This doesn't look overly complicated, I don't think. There are a lot of parking sensors in the back, good for the safety to help you avoid accidents. I actually love that Volkswagen now has illuminated logos. Let's see if we can get it to activate with anything we do. Anyways, yeah, it lights up red in the back. It lights up really bright white in the front, and those LEDs just look seriously cool. But there's a number of different ways that you can access your cargo area. You can push the button that's on the door panel. You can push the button that's underneath the aluminum Volkswagen, illuminated Volkswagen badge right there. You can climb through the back seats, or just use the power liftgate button on the remote, which I do have to say, it's kind of a haptic, but also kind of a push button feel. It's kind of a rubbery exterior, and I actually like this key a lot. But back here, you unfortunately only have about 26 cubic feet of room, which is right in between the average subcompact crossover and the average compact crossover. So some compact crossovers like my new Toyota RAV4 hybrid, that actually has 11 more cubic feet of room behind the second row, 11 more feet when you have all the seats laid down. You of course can detach this privacy shade, but I don't know why you'd want to unless you need taller items back here, because it's gonna help reduce the chance of getting break-ins and stuff like that, keep things cool, especially on 90-degree days. But this one just is not as roomy as some of the competition. Regardless, it has a few things that the others don't. You have some storage right there. You have a 12-volt LED light, a tie-down, a deep storage well between the back of the vehicle, the tailgate, and the wheel well. You can even drop the seats right there, and you have a bag clip. A lot of features right there that my class-leading Toyota RAV4 does not have, even though that's the best-selling compact crossover. This really offers a lot of things that my Toyota just doesn't. This feels like a very luxurious vehicle. And then you have a goodie basket right here, which if you want to know what's inside of that, you're gonna have to go to the dealer and check one out for yourself, I suppose. But unfortunately, it's only a temporary spare down here with the subwoofer, with your gas filling tools, your scissor jack, and all the other things that you might need. Anyways, we're gonna lower it down with the push of a button. And then coming around to the passenger side interior, it's actually a really nice place to be as well. But just like the driver's side, you get the R badge on the door. You get the 360-degree camera, the turn signal, which is huge, gonna help other people see you, know your intentions, and help you avoid accidents. And then the blind spot monitoring is on the inside, which is actually kind of cool how it's tucked away. Door panel opens up large, nice materials. I actually really like the handles that these vehicles have. They're pretty cool. And then look at that. I may have misspoken earlier, but you have memory seats on the passenger side. There's a lot of $40,000 compact crossovers that don't even include powered seats, or they take a few of the features away. This has all of them. That's pretty impressive. And then heated ventilated massaging seat, and the massagers actually push really hard into your back. I think they push harder than some people are probably going to enjoy. And then a decent size glove box. No plugins or anything that I can see down there. But with that said, let's come around to the front. We're gonna pop the hood, and I'll show you the 2-liter turbo connected to the 8-speed automatic. Under the hood is the current generation of 2-liter turbo by Volkswagen. This thing is actually pretty impressive. It's probably detuned a little bit, probably is underrated too. But if you dyno it, it would probably put down about as much power as it's rated at the flywheel, because that's kind of what Volkswagen turbos do, especially in the recent decade or so. Anyways, this thing makes 201 peak horsepower, but you have to rev it out to about 5,000 RPM. And then if it's front-wheel drive, it makes about 207 peak torque, but because this is all-wheel drive, it makes 221 at about 1,500 RPM. What's really neat is when the next year generation of this comes out in just a few months, it's gonna be basically the exact same vehicle. There might be a shiny black roof to it because it's part of the R line, but then it's also gonna have a bunch more power. 268 horsepower and about 40 more pound-feet of torque, 258, which is really impressive. Anyways, it sits pretty low in the engine bay, so when we drive, you'll see good forward-facing visibility because the hood doesn't have to be up super high. But like most other unibodies, it is transversely mounted. So the engine bracket is over here to hold it to the chassis. That means it can be kind of tight to change out the serpentine belt and to access some of the lower pulley components. But you have the alternator right there. You have the airbox right there. The filter goes through the turbo spinny boy in the back right there, which you can totally see. Honestly, even on the family compact crossover, I love that that's not hidden away with tons of heat shields, and it's a tiny little turbo. It might be kind of small, but you can see it right there. And then it comes back around for the induction side right there after the intercooling. So anyways, all the reservoirs are on the periphery. You have the battery over here, a fuse box next to it, the computer. And overall, it looks like a pretty decent design for being a Volkswagen, a modern SUV anyways. So let's drop the hood and see how it drives. Initial driving impressions of the brand new Tiguan with the 2-liter engine. Let's get up to speed. 2-liter does okay. It's pretty competitive in this class for kind of the lower output engine. Can't believe that pretty soon this is going to increase almost 70 horsepower for the same trim level. But anyways, driving the Tiguan is actually really nice. The visibility is pretty decent, even though the windshield isn't super tall and it does look very sporty from the outside. The hood slopes down really well because the engine sits so low in the engine bay. They have really close up front visibility. The side mirrors look extremely sporty. Just look at their teardrop design. They could be a little bit bigger, especially on the outer portion for visibility. But honestly, from my driver position, with how maneuverable and adjustable these seats are, I can actually see out of this thing pretty well. And then because it's only 15 1/3 feet long, I can see right down the center rear view mirror as well. But just cruising at highway speeds, this thing actually feels pretty good. Even though it is front wheel drive bias being transversely mounted for the engine, it actually handles fairly well. There's a little bit of body roll. You can tell that this is a little bit heavier vehicle because there's a little bit delay from getting the whole vehicle to rotate from when you first turn the wheel. But it does feel pretty stable, especially at lower speeds. It feels pretty planted. And then the interior on this, with all the fancy materials, the Harman Kardon speakers, which actually sound really good because there is 12 of them, is really nice. I've actually had the massaging seats on now for probably like 20 minutes, and they do a pretty good job. I think even my backpack, if it could talk, it would be having a good time, and it would love to share that with you. And then having the heated steering wheel, it is a little bit misleading because it is so hot outside that the steering wheel gets a lot of heat and it's warm anyways. I just barely turned that feature off, but after a while, it seemed to be heated basically 360 and quite warm. A lot warmer than, you know, a lot warmer than some other vehicles with heated steering wheels in this class. And overall, the layout of this vehicle is pretty nice, pretty functional, and even at the higher trim level, you really feel like you're getting a lot of goodies. Between the panoramic sunroof, all the upscale features that this has, you feel like you're in something nicer than just a Volkswagen. You feel like you might be in an Audi, the Volkswagen, you know, the more luxurious equivalent, or some other luxurious brand, not necessarily the people's car. But anyways, guys, I can't wait to get to my private road and show you what this thing does, 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the 201 horsepower Tiguan. Keep in mind, density altitude puts us at basically 5,800 feet above sea level, so this could be down on power up to about 10%. I'm going to do a brake rev, keeping in sport mode, and we'll see what this thing can do. And true 0 to 60 came in at 9.33 seconds, which is pretty middle of the road for this compact crossover class. My final thoughts of the brand new third generation of the Tiguan by Volkswagen. Honestly, guys, I don't drive a lot of Volkswagens, and I probably should start because these modern Volkswagens are really interesting to drive. They're really intriguing, and they actually punch above their class in quite a few ways. The warranty, unfortunately, is not as good as basically every other automaker at only 4 years, 50,000 miles for the powertrain. So if you are in the market for something this complex, this complicated, with all the fancy features that it has, maybe consider an aftermarket warranty if you're going to keep it long term. But if you're going to keep it for 50,000 miles or less, for 43 grand, what better experience are you going to have on a daily basis than this? It has 360-degree cameras, a bunch of quirks. It has functional aerodynamics and vents in the front, illuminated badges, and kind of like a light bar. It even has a very interesting gear selector, which I like a lot, a very interesting volume control knob, panoramic sunroof, massaging seats. I've never seen those in another compact crossover of the typical Japanese and American ones I review. This vehicle is quite interesting. It feels like a budget Audi, and I like it a lot. But ultimately, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? If I was going to spend one and money wasn't an option, I would certainly wait for the next year in a couple months when the new SEL-R comes out. I like the power. But this one, honestly, it makes about average or slightly more than average, up to about 10% more power than most of the others, like the CX-5 base model, the Forester base model, the RAV4 base model. It does a pretty good job. But anyways, guys, these are just my thoughts and opinions. Always test drive one for yourself. Check out the competition. Test drive a half dozen cars. Don't just take my word for it or anyone else's. You need to experience it for yourself and decide what matters to you and if this is the right vehicle. And if you got anything out of this review, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below, and remember to check out the Goody Motor Volkswagen in Twin Falls, Idaho. They are fantastic and really fun to work with. And with that said, I wish you guys the best. I hope you take care. Until next time, see ya.